Hi, this is Jeff with the INTJ equation, and today I'm joined by Justin and ENFJ. Would you like to say hi, Justin, and introduce yourself a little bit?
Hi, Justin. I'm going to introduce myself a little bit. I'm currently living in Chicago. I live at an intentional community called Jesus People USA. It's kind of a weird way of doing life. It's about 150 of us all living and working together in a 10-story building just a little bit north of Wrigley Field. I help out with the homeless shelter that we founded and help run. It's about 300 beds, and we can keep families together. And so that's just a really, really cool way to like help stop a cycle of homelessness from happening for families. So, and then also our community, the top 3 floors of our building are low-income housing for seniors. And a good bit of the people who are with our housing program are people that came from the shelter. So that's kind of like what the community I'm at is about, and what I and my wife want to be about. So I also do music. I have a solo project. It's a poetry project, and I do music with it. And then I also play synth in a goth band, which is not a sentence I ever thought I would ever say. Yeah, there's a guy here at the community who has a goth project that he's had for like 2 decades ish now, and yeah, I just really vibe with it, and so had a lot of fun doing stuff like that. So we've played around the country at festivals and things like that, and yeah.
And you also said that you organize events and concerts like that too. Is that correct?
Yeah. I mean, I guess I don't want to like overstate like what I do in that sort of world. Like, I mean, I've hosted small shows like with friends, like who have like really small like touring projects and stuff like that, both here and in Denver, where I lived for about 15 years. I was born in New Orleans, lived there for about 10, 11. Uh, yeah. So I've helped out with like shows. With my solo stuff, I did like a small 2-week tour with that. I am also involved with Magfest, Music and Gaming Festival, out in Washington D.C. It's I think the last event we had, it was just shy of 25,000 people. It's a 4-day, 24-hour event. Um, it's just a big old party, but just a whole bunch of nerds just having fun with video game stuff. So like they have like a 24-hour arcade. Like if you can think of a type of arcade game, like it's there. Like they have like imported like Japanese like arcade stuff. That's a whole fun thing. They have like a 24-hour video game library. Like you go up to the desk and be like, hey, I want to play this on this console, and they probably have it, and it's like 300 TVs on
Really?
this like convention hall floor, and you just sit down, and like there's people that's just most of what they do when they go to Magfest is just play all these sorts of old games. It's also a music festival, and like there's a whole world of video game music cover bands, which I found out about, and it's some pretty cool stuff. Like whole any genre you can think of, people do like video game cover stuff of it. And there's also a world of music called chip music. That's something I've been a part of for a good long while. My solo project is also a chiptune project. Like I use a program that does 8-bit sounds, and we run a stage at Magfest, the Chip Space. So it's an open mic for people that do 8-bit stuff, and then we also bring in people that are known in that community, and perform there. So I'm one of the stage managers for that space, and then so since I'm a manager for that, I'm also in conversation with kind of the larger production of the event. Yeah.
Okay, very, very cool. Sounds like you have a lot going on there.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's like I said, man, MagFest is a party. Like if anyone is in that area and is remotely interested in music and video game stuff, like go check out Mag. Like it's a fun time.
That's in Chicago, and is that annually? I mean, sure, COVID probably put a.
Magfest is in Washington, D.C.
Wow, that's what you said. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very, very cool. All right. So, can you describe what it's like being an ENFJ for you?
Oh man. Oof. it's a whirlwind. It's just man. Yeah, when I first started getting into MBTI, I wasn't sure exactly what type I was, and I was reading around, and I found an interview series where they interviewed an ENFJ, and they concluded the interview with how they concluded all their interviews was like, hey, what's one thing you would tell another person of your type? What's one thing you would tell an ENFJ about themselves? And this guy was like, admit that you're emotional. And I was like, wait. At that time, I was like, I was pretty sure I was an ENFJ, and I was like, what are you talking about? I'm not emotional. I just had like a super strong emotional reaction to being told that I wasn't emotional. And the more I thought about it, I was like, dang, I am emotional. So like, yeah, I mean, accepting that I'm probably like one of the most emotional people that I know has been like a big part of like my self-discovery journey, like through a lens of MBTI. So, and that isn't always a bad thing. I mean, like being sensitive isn't a bad thing. It's what you do with being sensitive. Like sometimes things that like are worth being sensitive over, or just like that's just the role that you're to play in that environment, is to draw attention to the thing that you're sensitive about. And also like with being the FE on it, you know, like I'm just always reading everything. Like just always reading the room, just always reading people. Yeah, it definitely carries over to like being a performer, like doing that sort of stuff, or like thinking about events like, hey, like I know how's this gonna go with this, or you know, living the way that I live with a bunch of other people, you know, just like, okay, like, hey, like how's this interaction gonna go, like what's going on with this. So yeah. And then where it's a whirlwind is like it's a fine balance of taking that initial FE input and properly channeling it first through that introvert intuition and not the introverted thinking. Because I definitely, using the language of Myers-Briggs, like realize that like anytime that like I just get in trouble with myself, you know, like where my interior world and like my emotional health gets kind of wacky is when I'm overthinking, when I'm just too much in my head on things. So yeah.
Okay, very cool. I was kind of like, I was in ESFJ. I was thinking that for a minute. Then you started really talking about like how you use your NI and your FI together. Can you explain a little bit more in that process, like your main thought process, or how you kind of go through the world to make decisions, really?
Yeah. Oh, I make decisions very fast. I am a super hard J. Like all of my judging functions are just like, yes, we are. This is a thing. I'm also, and I think we talked about it in the pre-talk about that I'm also pretty big on Enneagram as a personality theory. I'm a very strong type 1, which gets described a lot of different ways. And the way I like to describe it is just like, just care about things being good, about being right in the way that's like best for the thing that it is. Being mature in it is recognizing it's not necessarily being right in my definition, which is also where unhealthy ENFJs can come out to, where it's just like, oh, like I know how this should be, so I'm gonna say exactly what I think is how it's gonna be. But yeah, and I think that's where my introvert intuition really comes out, is like taking in, you know, all the stuff that's going on and oh, it's being expressed, you know, as the feeling, and being like, well, this is what I know. This is like what I think I know. This is what I think like about what it is. And so processing it like that. Yeah.
Very
So
cool.
yeah.
All right, so it's pretty cool what you guys are doing with the commune. Actually, you're helping people. You said you have like several stores for seniors that are low income, and you have like a homeless shelter and everything like that. That's pretty awesome. You said
Yeah.
there's 550 or 150 people there approximately.
150 right now. Yeah. At the
Very
height
cool.
of the community, we like in the late 90s, early 2000s, there was about 500 people living here. So yeah,
Okay.
like in the same space. So yeah, that's a lot more room right now. Yeah. I've only been here for about 5 years. I wasn't around for all that, but definitely hear stories. So yeah.
Very cool. Okay. So you said that you're a very emotional person, but since you're like an FE hero, like FE is in your top slot, you
Mhm.
pick up on the emotions of others, really. So that's more like a shadow function, like your or FI nemesis, the first function in your shadow. Could you explain how that makes you feel a little bit?
Um, Depending on the situation, like I said, like when I first found out, like like that when I heard that advice from an ENFJ in that interview, like, hey, admit that you're emotional, like I did not consider myself an emotional person before that moment. Like I just like didn't like I how I felt like I processed things was like this is how I think about it, so this is how I feel. But in growing up and learning myself more, I had to be honest where it's like, no, like this is how it's making me feel, and so this is what I think about that. Um, so yeah, I guess I don't know if that exactly answers your question, but I think that's yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
where
I
I'm
don't
at.
I don't know if you're too familiar with shadow or not, the shadow side of it.
Uh,
It's kind of like, go ahead.
yeah, not as much, no.
Not as much. Okay. It's
Yeah,
just kind of like
yeah.
how it works against your ego, like your main
Mhm.
personality, and kind of like how it holds you back. So do you ever feel like you're a bad person in any way, or you're not good enough?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, yeah, that's there's some aspects where like being an ENFJ and an Enneagram 1 conflict, but that's definitely a place where those two like just skip hand in hand through the roses. You know, where it's just like definitely having to like keep that like self guilt in check, or like that feeling of like, hey, like yeah, doing stuff wrong, you know. So yeah, gotten a lot better with it, but definitely in my younger years that was a tough thing. Yeah.
So I'm not as familiar with Enneagram. Is
Mhm.
a type one a typical type for an ENFJ?
No, the most natural type for an ENFJ is a two.
Two.
Um, and two is the helper type that they um like look to see how they can help and influence situations that they're a part of, which is different than a nine, which is like really wants to keep the peace, like wants to help and like keep things stable for how that situation is. Um, like yeah, there's some details in like Enneagram theory that we just don't need to get super into on the specific differences, but yeah, but two in nine. Um, I think I've also seen a lot of sevens. I think those are like the big three. And sevens is the
Definitely a lot of NFPs that are sevens.
yes, that too. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, like I can imagine ones being like STJs a lot, right? Kind of like
Hmm.
keeping the order and the structure, but you guys are structure
Yeah,
types too, so that makes sense.
yeah.
All right. I'm a 5W6. What's really between like a 5W6 and like a 5W4? I hear a lot of talk about that.
Yeah, yeah. Wing theory is um like not contested, but I mean, there's definitely like schools of Enneagram thought that like don't put a lot of weight on wings. Um, I think I'm kind of more on that side where I think like your instinctual variant matters more than your wings. But wing theory is that like what that everyone has their core type that no matter where you grow as a person, you'll always go back to like processing things in your primary type in the same way that Myers-Briggs has your primary function. So, but every primary type in Enneagram has some influence of one of the numbers that are next to it. So like, yeah, 5 wings with the 6 or the 4. Yeah. So like yeah. I don't know if you have any more questions from that.
Yeah, I didn't know if like just what's the difference. Like a wing, like a 4 is more like people that are like really deep in their emotions and are like deeply emotional, probably like like an INFP or maybe like a INFJ would be, and a 6 would be more like, I'm not even sure what a 6 would be more like.
Yeah, so like 4s, it's a desire to express themselves, like, and trying to like find their authentic selves and like and let other people know about it. And that leads to a lot of emotional conflict, and like that's why like 4s get kind of painted as emotional, because I mean usually they are, but yeah. But 6 is a type that cares about security and cares about like being loyal and like having where they fit in the world is like how they keep structure in a more deeper emotional way of a like being prepared or like letting the people around them know that they're cared, and not necessarily just in a emotional way but also in a security sort of way. So like a 5-6 and a 5-4 is like, out of some of the other wing types, like really you really can get a very different focus from a 5. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I'm just curious about it. Like I said, I haven't read a whole lot about it. Just to jump back on Enneagram just a little bit. What
Yeah.
is it like the try something? I forgot what the theory, the name of the theory is called. It's kind of like where you jump up 3 steps or so, because I resonate a lot with an 8 in a lot of ways too.
Yeah, so the triads, yeah. So there's like well, you have your core type, and then there's a bunch of different ways of defining it. Traditionally, it's the concept of integration and disintegration, or I mean, a lot of modern schools on it use language of health or stress, but every type in growth or in stress like will act in either the good ways or the bad ways of another type on the Enneagram. So like for me personally, as a 1, when I'm in health, like I move towards the positive aspects of a 7, which is like caring about the group and like group experiences and yeah, just having everything be a good time. Like they just 7's the party number, which makes sense for a 1. A healthy 1 is like gonna see these rules and see these things that are good for other people, but do it in a way that considers the whole of the situation or even themselves, like not just the rules themselves. But a 1 disintegrates or in stress, goes to a 4, where it's like really gets really insular and like really feels like this need for expression and like it yeah. And that's a whole nother conversation. I think that's separate from an MBTI podcast on like being a creative 1. I've actually really looked for it and I can't find like people talking about like the real like serious oh gosh, cognitive dissonance I've had like with being a creative 1. But yeah, so for a 5, I actually forget what the integration is on that. Let me look that up real quick for you. Man, isn't the future great? We got like
Yeah, sorry to throw you off the
all of
Enneagram
this right here.
questions. I didn't
Oh no,
really
it's
know
all good. Yeah. Yeah, I think that that 5 does, yeah, 5 does integrate to 8. So like yeah, like in growth, having some more of that positive stuff. So yeah, yeah. And also like just like an MBTI where people like kind of mistype, where it's like when they take tests, they take it as their ideal self. Like a lot of times, like for Enneagram, test results can get kind of skewed like that, where it's like people are like testing for their ideal, or because like they are unhealthy and some of their, stress or disintegration type is coming out when they take their test, so they think they might be more that number. It happens a lot with like 2s and 4s and stuff like that. So yeah.
Yeah, I have this one young guy on my Discord server.
Mhm.
I like did a little voice chat with him trying to type him, and he definitely came off strongly as an ENTJ. I did type him as an ENFJ because when he first came to me, he was convinced that he's an ENFJ. Now he's convinced he's an ENTP, and I'm just trying to explain the differences between an ENF
Yeah.
or an ENTP and an ENTJ.
Mhm.
He thinks that he's like really young. He's still like in high school and everything, and so he
Yeah.
doesn't have his whole life planned out. He's kind of feeling more like an ENTP, and he says he's a 7-wing 6. So an ENTJ 7-wing 6 would be an odd Enneagram assignment for that, and it'd be like an 8
Yeah.
or definitely strong ENTJs, I would imagine.
Yeah. I mean, it can happen. Like, I think part of why I've been looking to have a more holistic view on personality theory is just being honest with what limitations each individual personality theory has. Because, like, Myers-Briggs is really just for explaining how our brains structure themselves, like the cognitive functions. That's just another way of wording that. And like Enneagram, I feel, is for giving language for how our personalities express themselves, which is just a whole different category than kind of what a Myers-Briggs typing is gonna share with you. And then there's also spiral dynamics, which is like a whole other conversation. That would take a whole good while to give a quick explanation of spiral dynamics for this kind of podcast. Um, but yeah, but like the thinking holistically, and then also yeah, like I mean any combination of um, Enneagram with instinctual variant could be any type of MBTI. Like it's just um, yeah. Yeah.
That's the problem I have with tests, especially just tests
Oh
in
yeah.
general. I don't like tests in school. Like this kid came to me and he said like, oh, I'm an ENFJ. And I told him he's an ENTJ. Then he showed me a result where he was an ENFP. Then he showed me results where he is an ENTP. Like, tests are just
Yeah.
horribly inaccurate. You could take a test and come back a couple hours later and be hungry or in a bad mood, and you could test as a totally different type, and
Yeah.
this causes like an identity crisis for a lot of people.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's where I like using personality theory as just language, like not hanging my hat on like whichever definition of a type that I find, just like just generally understanding. I mean, and more so than just generally, I guess, but like, like having good knowledge on like what the theories say on stuff, but still being like, you're you, like you are you as an individual. And it's great that we can have this language to figure out, like help understand ourselves. But like, yeah, I don't ever want to get hung up too much. I am definitely ENFJ in a 1 though. So yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing about it. Like MBTI, I mean, it's always been kind of broad compared to a lot of things that I'm more into. But it really these
Mhm.
days it's just memes. Like if people just read these memes, stereotypes on these memes, and that's how
Yeah.
they type themselves. Just a little scary, I think.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. I mean, the thing though is when they're accurate, they're accurate. Like I'm kind of bummed that the ENFJ subreddit doesn't have a lot of memes. We're not very memey people.
Yeah.
We're also kind of hard to meme. But my wife is an INFP, and oh boy, are there some really great INFP memes that are
Oh
out
yeah.
there. So
I think
yeah,
INTs are probably king of the memes and queens of
yeah,
the memes.
yeah.
What's it like being married to an INFP and an ENFJ relationship? That sounds like a pretty good cognitive relationship.
Yeah, I mean, when both people are healthy, absolutely. Like, yeah, because maybe for those that aren't like super deep in like function sex stuff, so like our function stacks are mirrored in introverted and extroverted. So they're the same all the way down, but where I'm extroverted, she's introverted, and vice versa. So like, yeah, in ways it's really good have like to still process things in the same sort of function, but just like function order, but just a different perspective. So like, yeah, but I think the trick is good communication for us. And also being honest where like one of us is stronger than the other in places. So like, yeah, early on in a relationship, I just didn't realize how much my wife wasn't opening up about things that she was feeling. But I had the perception to identify like, hey, wait a second, maybe something was not being said. And so like, there's a couple times where like something was bubbling up deep and then it like came out and it was just like, whoa, like where did this come from? But yeah, so like now we know like where to identify those sort of things. And I'm just like more proactive on asking questions like, hey, I think this might be what's going on, like emotionally between us when it comes to processing events. So like, and also just working together on like knowing where our blind spots are. Cause like, just like if I know I'm, uh, yeah, my wife calls it my spiral of doom when I like get like in a negative emotional space, and usually that starts from like overthinking it, like not using my introverted thinking in a positive way, um acting out of like negative emotions. But the same thing for her, and I think like there's been times where like we were talking about topics and like it just felt down and wasn't good, and we were both talking out of our thinking functions. And so like so that's something that like I recognize could probably be like a very big stumbling block for a relationship if we didn't identify it pretty early. That like, uh, if we both are not doing well and talking out of that space, like just saying, hey, not let's still talk about this, but let's like table it for now and come back to it. Like we're in a better spot with it. Like that's something we've definitely like recognized that we need to do. I mean, also some smaller stuff like I have pretty strong opinions about negative joking. Like where it's just like it don't like if you want to communicate something positive to someone, you don't lose anything by saying it positively. As a like, and I've talked with people, you know, it's just like, oh, you know, like we make jokes like this because we're friends or something like that. But it's just like, or like family or something like that. It's like, but at face value, the thing that you're saying is inherently negative. Um, and early on in a relationship, we made some jokes like that to each other, and then like we both like independently in different scenarios like thought about what's being said and like actually I don't think I like how that feels. So like we don't really like negatively joke to one another, and that's like a really specific thing that we've done, which is probably relatively unique to our relationship, that like we realized it was like not good for us. So.
Yeah, I get what you mean. Like, I love ENFPs. They're one of my favorite types, but I always scare them off, it seems like. I think
Yeah.
INTJs, we kind of have this snarky, real dry humor. So we make like a joke, but we kind of stay flat affected, and we just kind of don't show that we're joking. And I think they take it like seriously, and they just don't understand that, and they're very sensitive. So I think that's how I've scared off many INFPs, but most of them were before I knew what an INFP was, really.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, that's yeah, and like I can spot them really quick now
Yeah.
in the wild. Some of them been like married to one for about 6 years. So like um yeah. Yeah, and I just ended up like with a bunch of INFP friends. Like being on the ENFJ subreddit, you hear a lot of people being like, I'm looking for an INFP or an ENFJ. Like it gets like romanticized to like a very strong degree, like that pairing. In both of those communities, but like yeah, I don't know, it just kind of just naturally happened. So like I have a really good friend who's also an INFP, and I have a couple of friends that I've met at the community that I'm at now that are INFPs.
So in the community, do you spot a lot of different types? Like, wide variety, or is it just like a certain type that are living there, would you say, like predominantly?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely like, yeah, I mean, most type, I mean, every type's definitely represented. I mean, there's some more types, but NF's clump. NF's definitely like the clump. And
Oh yeah.
yeah, there's definitely very few things in the world that are more NF than being like, hey, let's all move in together to help take care of neighbors. So,
Yeah.
like, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And then also like Enneagram theory has some like, I don't know if actually, I mean, this probably is done in the MBTI world, but for the Enneagram world, it's like on like corporate testing side, they'll like number companies or workplaces, and like in our community is definitely a 9, like that peacemaker that like, hey, let's like keep things at peace, sometimes to the negative of like of the long term, but like but it feels good now. Being conflict avoidant is like at worst like what a 9 will do. um but yeah, yeah, very NF.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I can imagine like NFs being like like the hippie types, really, because you said that your
Yeah,
commune it was a hippie commune, like a hippie Christian commune, then it kind of just, I guess, evolved to what it is today, right? Just a,
yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, it's hippie in modern ways, more
yeah.
or less. I mean, so yeah.
You have like any new age elements there? Or is it mostly just like the like Christian? You have like, I'm sure you have like church services and stuff there, right?
Yeah, yeah, it's definitely a Christian community. We are affiliated with the Evangelical Covenant Church. That's a denomination. North Park University is a seminary that Evangelical Covenant um, operate. That's in Chicago. We have connections with them and with the church at large. So, yeah, we're technically denominationally affiliated, um, but there isn't really any strong like biblical like well any strong like doctrinal beliefs inside the community where it's like, oh well, if you live here, like you have to believe in infant baptism or like really specific nerdy Christianese jargon that doesn't matter at all for this conversation. Like it's I mean, this is pretty much like, hey, do you want to do the Jesus thing with us? Do you believe in doing the Jesus thing? Cool, let's do it together and figure it out. So yeah.
Okay. So
Yeah.
you're both, you're like living in the commune and like doing like the, I don't know, managing or promoting the concerts and stuff you do, like organizing the events. It's very people focused. Have you found that typology's pretty handy there? Like if you run into like a, I don't know, an INTJ somewhere and you kind of, do you know how to like kind of correspond with us a little bit better, not to rub us the wrong way?
Um yeah, I mean, it's definitely like I definitely identify with like the stereotype that like ENFJs can be not necessarily manipulative, but like chameleon-esque, or like definitely like identify like how I could say or go about a thing could influence like how stuff goes. And so yeah, yeah, I definitely like um yeah, it helps like being able to read how someone is reacting and responding. And also I think it's my introvert intuition too of like I'll definitely do the run through a conversation before I have it. um I heard once like that there's a saying in the law world like, don't, I also did debate in high school, so it's like, don't ask a question you don't know the answer to someone else, that sort of thing. So it's like when it comes to like asking for like how like asking if somebody's going to help out with a show or something like that, like I definitely like probably consider more than most like how people are going to respond to a request before I ask it. Yeah.
Okay, I mean, it's probably safe to say INTJs are the least the religious of the types. Do you find a lot of INTJs there in the commune? Is it common?
There are a couple. Actually, you emailed to me today the question list, and I thought about it, and I was like, wait, do I know many INTJs? And I don't know too many, but I was talking with some other people in the community, and yeah, there's definitely some people that like that we feel like would identify in the INTJ type. They're more reserved, but like also they're very confident in like what they believe and how they choose to interact. And both of these people are older guys that have been in the community for a good while. So I think that like they're probably more mature in how they would go about interacting with other people than like um, the standard like or less than healthy way like a INTJ would go about stuff. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I know, like, I don't know if you're familiar with Dave Ramsey. He's an INTJ, and he's, definitely religious. So it's not like unheard of
Mm-hmm.
or anything. I was just curious.
Yeah.
Throughout life, have you ever met any INTJs, like school or work, before you moved to the commune, anything like that, or
Yeah. I'm not sure, honestly.
really?
Like, it really wasn't until like the last like 7 years that I like started really trying to process interactions I was having with people with that language of MBTI. So I might have, but yeah, I
Yeah,
can't say for sure. Yeah.
I'm sure you probably ran into them somewhere. I mean, we're just kind of keep to ourselves most of the time. So
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I super into heavy music. When I was in Denver, I was going to concerts all the time, like hardcore metal stuff, and probably ran into a fair bit in that world when
yeah,
I think about it. So yeah,
yeah, I think INTJs are definitely into metal. I used to be really into like the really hard stuff, but I kind of mellowed out over the years.
yeah, I have only just gotten wider in the music stuff that I love. I had this moment like when I was like 27, was like, okay, I'm still listening to hardcore. I still want to go to shows. Is this because I like the culture of shows? Like, am I missing like just like the scene, or is it because I just really like this music? And I was like, oh shoot, I just really like heavy music. So, so yeah, I'm still committed. I'm a lifer when it comes to that sort of stuff. So yeah, um, yeah.
What are some of your favorite bands? Do you ever like have any bands that have like satanic elements, or is that like a no-no for you?
Oh, oh yeah, totally. Yeah, no, I mean like, um, I can definitely like separate like um what someone's saying that I don't necessarily agree with and enjoying the art, and to even have like how they're saying or even like what they're saying still be part of what I enjoy, but being like, that's how you believe and that's fine. I'm not going to agree with it, but like I'll still enjoy what you do. Oh yeah, I mean like some yeah, I've definitely been at shows where like bands have said just way out there stuff. I was just like, all right man, I'm just gonna yeah, and enjoying it. Like I enjoy show environments, and still bands that like are definitely not or anti-Christian, like openly anti-Christian, but like yeah, I don't care. So I mean, I feel like that there's so many people that are the other way with it, that like are like yeah, I don't believe in Christianity, but like what they're doing, like I enjoy like the art of it. So like I'm not gonna let that stop me from enjoying it. So it's like why would I like you know like make that distinction the other way. So yeah.
Okay, very cool. I just, some people are just like, this is the way I am. This is what I believe. So I will not, concur to this because it goes against my belief system. So, what are
Yeah.
some of your favorite bands?
Oh man, so many. So many. Yeah. Like I uh right now I've super into The Armed. They're like progressive metal, not prog metal. Prog is its own thing, and it's not exactly progressive anymore. It's a lot of people just doing the same stuff they've been doing. But like they're just wild. The record that they put out is called Ultra Pop. So it's like every song is like definitely a pop song. Like there are verses, there are choruses, they sing, there's melody, there's even melody in the screaming, but it's definitely a heavy record. Like it can't be confused as anything of both of those things at the same time. And it's just like so exciting. It's just like really exciting record. Like just because like, yeah, they're just truly doing something different. Like nobody's doing anything like that. Also there's another band, Portrayal of Guilt. Oh, I'm forgetting the name of the record. Yeah, they just put out a record that I love. They do like it's black metal vocals and black metal as a bass, but they're kind of just like a crossover of like doing just whatever they feel like it with that as the bass. I've been really enjoying like modern black metal stuff that has like super reverbed out vocals. That's kind of like a barometer of like the kind of black metal that it is like if they're putting a ton of reverb on the vocals. So yeah, so like those two bands. I really like Sufjan Stevens, which is a very different artist. He's been around since like the late 90s, early 2000s. He singer-songwriter type, like really good lyrics. His most recent record was like this electronic poppy kind of record. Yeah. Let's see what else I've been listening to lately. I found a jazz hip hop playlist on Spotify. It's like a lot of stuff from like the early 2000s, like late 90s. Like really enjoying that sound. Like I've always liked it, but I haven't like really like dug into it. So like dug into that. And like I said, like doing like chip music. I really like electronic music. So like progressive house. I really love dubstep. Like that's probably like next to hardcore, like my favorite genre, and not like post Skrillex dubstep, but pre Skrillex dubstep, like stuff from London from 2002 to 2007. Yeah, I just love that sound. And there's modern producers that still producing that sound. But I've listened to so much dubstep from that era, like so. Yeah, yeah.
I gotta ask, what do people think? Like you're this wholesome Christian guy doing all like this charitable work and stuff, and they hear like Slayer or something coming out of your room.
I mean, well, there's a lot of, the community that I'm at is totally understands heavy music. Like, because Resurrection Band was one of the first Christian rock bands, and that was kind of the a lot of the community, like as Jesus people, started with just hippies following this band around. And it kind of grew into that and it got more structured. But no, yeah, a lot of people here get heavy music. There was been some Christian punk bands that have been pretty influential in the history of Christian punk, that were of community members from here, like Head Noise or Crash Dog. The Blamed. If anyone watching this like is into Christian punk, you'll like know those bands, and so like yeah.
All right, very cool. So these next questions, this next question I have is something I ask everybody. I just put a little bit different spin on it. If you could be another type for one day, what would that type be?
I don't know. I don't know if I'd want to. I guess I'm just kind of comfortable with like where I'm at. Like if I could do anything different, I think just because I am such a hard J, I've been like really working to like be more open and like be less rigid with how I go about and plan my life. So like ENFP, like I think like isn't necessarily like what something that I'm working towards specifically, but like yeah. And I guess in using Enneagram language, that's just me as a 1 trying to integrate to 7, you know, just kind of being more
open and
ENFP-ish.
spontaneous.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And I think that's where like doing the metal show thing was like really huge for me. Because like when I was in Denver, there was 2 years in a row where I went to over 100 shows a year.
Oh, really?
Like,
Wow.
yeah, there was 1 year back to back 2 months where I did 15 shows in the month.
Wow.
Like I was living at venues like yeah. And I was also like the only person in the pit that was smiling, you know, like I'll be doing the just doing the stupid like hardcore dancing, like fighting the invisible ninjas stupid stuff, but like with a smile on my face, like, you know, it's just I just really love that environment. Yeah, and I've really thought about that. I was like, why do I enjoy this so much? And if I just run down my function stacks, like, oh yeah, that kind of makes sense. Like just feeling the vibe of the room, like you know, knowing what's going on. Like I'm super aware of the pit, like who's doing what, like where someone might be. But then just we haven't talked about extroverted sensing yet, but just experiencing it, just let it out and just let it happen. And yeah, just feel really free in that kind of like metal pit environment. Pandemic's been rough, not gonna lie.
Yeah, I
Yeah, no
imagine
shows have been rough.
I'd imagine it'd be really rough living in a commune like that with the homeless shelter and the seniors and just being an extrovert. I imagine it'd be a lot rougher on an extrovert than an introvert.
Yeah.
So that does make sense with like the FE and the SE. I mean, it sounds like you really like SE child, the tertiary where SE is at. It's really like about giving people a really good experience. So it sounds like you like to organize these events and like give a good experience out to people, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah, definitely. Like I play a lot of Magic the Gathering.
Oh, I love magic.
I Oh yeah, awesome. Yeah. Shoot, we could do an hour podcast just sharing decks or something. Yeah, cuz yeah, I love Magic so much. Like they put out a product recently called Jumpstart where you get a certain number of these 30 card decks or 20 card decks. They have themes like goblins or wizards or witches or like spell casting or drawing cards or flyers or whatever. You just pick 2 of them and you shuffle them together, and then you just play a game of Magic with those cards. And like when that came out and I heard about it, I was like, I love showing new people Magic, and I'm like, this is the best way to play Magic with new people or people that don't have decks on them. So like I've went out of my way and I like really tried to curate like a good collection of these jumpstart decks. So I have like 20 that like I can play with people. Or I really love music, like listening to music. My Spotify year in review last year said I listened to like over 2,000 hours on
Wow.
Spotify. You know, so like yeah, like last year I made a ton of playlists. Like every month I was like making playlists of the stuff that I was listening to that I liked, all sorts of genres, just integrating it in the playlist, specifically with the goal of sharing it with other people. You know, my logic being like the internet age, it's really hard to quantify how to support artists. Like, yeah, I'm paying $10 a month to Spotify, but like I know the people that I'm listening to aren't exactly getting a legitimate percentage of that money. So it's like, how do I support these artists? One of the ways that I thought to be practical was like make a playlist. And like when people want to listen to music or like I'm in a group environment, like share my playlist, like learn about the artists that are on the playlist and like just let them know who it is, like, and where to find their stuff. You know, like, uh, yeah, that sort of stuff. Like, or like with my music that I do, like I plan out sets. Like when I do my solo stuff, I'm really conscious of the flow. Um, like trying to have like a cohesive narrative even on a live setting. When I think about records to do, I like exclusively think in concept records. Like I just like want to explore one topic pretty in a deep but wide way. Yeah, like I'm working. I just started pre-production on two records right now with a friend that I went on tour with before, and yeah, they're concept records, and that's just how I think. Just like where can my experiences and like the ways that I want to entertain, like where can it actually fit with other people? And I've also used that power for not good. I've also done like noise music, like park noise, like just making like really loud, intense things in a live setting, and knowing that the exact opposite is going to happen, where it's just like you're probably not going to enjoy this, but there's just a vibe with it. So yeah,
Okay, very cool.
yeah, yeah.
All right. We're almost out of time here. What type would you like least to be for a day? If you can think of one.
Yeah, yeah. I like an SFP, and I guess I'm just so self-aware and aware of stuff around me that um like I guess I'd kind of feel bummed out if I wasn't like super in tuned with like all the stuff that was going on in like, and maybe it's a control issue that I have. I've really thought about that, like especially being like a hard NJ and a hard like Enneagram 1, being like how much are the things that I feel that help define me as a person, like how much of those are me wanting or feeling like I have control. So like and I admire that about like uh SFPs, like just like experiencing like their world as it is. But that's just so um not exactly where I'm at. That like yeah, I don't know if I want that.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
would be tough being like a STP, SFP, kind of like just not foreseeing like the future very well and just getting in trouble with the law and not really foreseeing the consequences of that, and you end up in jail or prison. I think that would be kind of tough.
Yeah, I mean, I was definitely the kid that only needed to get told that the stove was hot.
Yeah.
Like I've never been the kind of person that needed to personally experience the consequences to understand that there were consequences.
Yeah.
Um, so like, yeah, I mean, as I've gotten older, I've just learned to understand that like, there's just some things about how I perceive my world that are just like way different than how most other people perceive the world. I found out that like I'm one of the only people that actually like reads stuff in public, like public notices and things like that. Like I've always like, read stuff. I mean, a small thing, and it's a fun thing, it's a fine thing. Like live in a commune, floor's got to get cleaned. It's a big place. There's like a mop room, and it says on the stuff for the solution for the mop that it needs to be cold water, because if it's hot water, then it kills the stuff that's in the floor soap from actually working.
Hmm.
And recently I talked to some other people, and I'm the only person who's
Yeah.
read and seen that. Like everyone else uses hot water for cleaning the floors, and I think just having like the maturity and my type and like and who I am is like not getting upset at that or like feeling that something we got to fix, like what's going on, just being like it's floors, like the stuff that matters we'll address, but yeah.
Yeah, I think that's an NI thing, just observing little small things like that, and well, it's actually
Mm-hmm.
disinfecting the floor properly using cold water. Apparently, I got two more questions. Sorry, we have to talk about your TI a whole lot. Maybe we can do a continuation on this sometimes. You haven't had a lot of interactions with INTJs, so what would you like INTJs or other types to understand more about you or ENFJs?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think for me, definitely, and from what I've heard from other ENFJs, it's a big thing too, is like I feel like I'm at my best like when I know I'm the best for the groups that I'm around. Like that, like when that if I'm choosing to like make contributions to an individual's life or a group, that like I really want to do it. And I really feel like what I can contribute like is really good, like for it, what's going on. And so like, but also like it really is part of like my identity to like integrate with other people, and not in like a codependent sort of way. And this is something that like I really had to figure out for myself and like really ask the questions, deep ones, like, wait a second, like am I just like a people pleaser, or like do I need external uh oh gosh, what's the word that I'm thinking of? I've hit my head too many times, too many mosh pits, too many times getting dropped crowd surfing, stuff like that. um Gosh, validation. That's the word. Like is it that I need external validation? And I think I've learned like when I function stack, my brain's a jumbled mess. Like nothing like actually like stays in one spot. Like it's extroverted feeling, and then like, oh yeah, this is what I know, so I think this is how it is. And then all right, let's just put it back out there and see what happens. And so it's like everything's constantly always at flux. And so just like if yeah, just like express back if there's appreciation, or um, you feel that an ENFJ in your life is a positive thing. Like yeah, like it'll go a lot farther than you think. So yeah.
Yeah. I kind of found that out in a lot of ways. Kind
Yeah.
of a vice versa question. What would you like to understand about INTJs or other types?
Hmm. Yeah. I mean, it gets said, and it's really easy to say it, and it's really hard to mean it and to actually live it out. But like personality theories as a tool for empathy. Like, I mean, like if you've been around it, you've probably heard it. But really, actually, like for me, it's like, yeah, I really do want to like figure out how to be a better human with the other humans I live with. Like, and so yeah, so like any ENTJ, I'd ask like, hey, what are your observations? What are like, how are you processing what's going on, and like what conclusions are you reaching? Because yeah, because I know there's good stuff that's being observed, and wanting to like bring that out. Yeah, I guess we haven't talked about it much. I have a lot more experience with INTPs
Yeah.
than I do INTJs. I actually somehow know a ton of INTPs, but yeah. And then my best friends is a ISTP, which
Oh,
is
really?
yeah, it's a whole nother set of conversations. But yeah, like yeah. I mean, everyone has. I mean, at their best, like everyone like really can contribute something just really great to the environments that they're in. Like, and I think that um, when we help identify what specifically like people are stronger at, then we can help like bring that into a conversations. So yeah, that's what I want to learn. Like from anybody, like no matter what type they are. So
I think specific for INTJs, our biggest struggle is that we don't really have
yeah.
FE, so we can't really pick up on the emotions of others. So we don't emote a lot of emotion. You probably seen that I'm pretty
Mm-hmm.
flat stuff during the whole interview. A lot of people
Yeah.
take offense to that, just kind of the way I am. You kind of have
Mm-hmm.
to learn to fake that. I haven't figured that out yet. But we kind of, like NI and TE, we kind of try to find the best path forward. We're always in our head with our NI and always just observing things. And, we kind of use our FI as a moral compass to kind of like, is this good or bad? Is this right or wrong? And hopefully if we're,
Right.
mature, we could develop a better FI to do good in the world instead of like, be selfish or do something bad. Then, we got to use our
Yeah.
SD to kind of bring it out, which we're very insecure of. It's kind of like why we're quiet. One big reason. And kind of that's what we have
Yeah.
to realize, like a big turning point in our life is like, okay, I want all these things with my NI. I want to do all these things, but I have to
Yeah.
interact with people. and we just kind of have to make ourselves get out there and get over that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. It seems like you're doing a good job right now. Like this podcast series that you're doing. Yeah, that's definitely that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you know, there's just like a big my whole life's been a big misunderstanding. So I just want people to understand INTJs better, and I want INTJs to understand other types better. So
For sure.
I think that's a big part of what I want to do, especially with this podcast in specific. And I hope to do other stuff with my YouTube channel and my website and stuff like that as well.
Awesome. Yeah.
Right. I think that's all the questions I have. Is there anything you want to ask or anything you want to promote? Like, I don't know if you have like a certain business for your event planning or anything like that you'd like to share.
Oh, I can send you the links. We could put it down in the description on the YouTube video for some of the bands that with the Leper. The Leper is the name of the goth band that I'm with. We put out a release about a year and a half ago that we're still really proud of. And then I'm going to send you a link for Magfest just so you can get some information about that. If you're in the convention world, that's something that interests you. Like it's a fun time. And then I can also just like share a playlist or two that I've done on Spotify. If anybody wants to listen to a random assortment of music, I got you.
Okay, yeah, I'd be interested in hearing some of the music you guys have available and everything like that. Yeah, just go ahead and put it in the Google Doc that we shared. Anything else you'd like to share?
I think I'm good. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, Justin, for joining me today, and thank you all for watching. I'll put all the stuff in the description that we talked about, including my website and YouTube channel where I have a blog and we have a Discord server and a subreddit and all that. Today, well, thank you for going beyond a clickbait, and have a great